In today's video, I want to talk about towing and payload numbers on the F450 and our F350 with the 7.3 liter Godzilla. With this 450 being a pickup truck and not a cab chassis, it carries that F450 badge, but not the F450 payload numbers. This truck can haul 5,001 pounds. That's still good payload, but still quite a bit less than an F350 dually or a cab chassis. A cab chassis F450 is going to be able to haul significantly more weight, probably 2 to 3,000 pounds more. I don't know the exact numbers on a cab chassis 450, but a significantly more or higher level of payload on a cab chassis. Now, the funny thing about this truck and its available payload is it can tow 40,000 pounds on a gooseneck, but it doesn't have enough payload to do it very comfortably. It has enough to do it, but not very comfortably. So at 5,000 pounds of payload, you have to really watch your tongue weight, your pin weight on the gooseneck trailer, and you'd have to be very cognizant of every amount of weight that's in the truck and make sure you stay under that 5,000. And that being said, if you were to tow 40,000 pounds with just 5,000 pounds of pin weight, let's say you had just enough pin weight for the occupant of the vehicle and nothing else in the truck. So let's say you left 200 pounds, so you have 4,800 pounds of pin weight. Well, that wouldn't really be enough pin weight. You'd be playing with the load and stuff because they want like at least 15%. So you probably be able to do it, but you'd be at the very minimum on the pin weight. You'd have to play with it. So it wouldn't be the best setup to tow like 40,000 pounds regularly, although technically it can do it and still be legal. That being said, the 450s in their pickup truck configurations, they don't have the heavy springs in the rear, but they do have the 450 axles. They really do have the axles and the brakes. So when you go over that 5,000 pounds of payload, the truck behaves differently than when you go over the payload on like a 250, 350 single rear wheel pickup. These trucks, these single rear wheel 250s, this is an F350, but very similar to a 250. If you go over the gross vehicle weight rating, you can really tell the truck does kind of go down in stability. This one not so bad. It does have a rear sway bar behind it, but you start to get close to the max and you start to notice it real quick that you're at the max. Where with the dually F450, you go to that 5,000 pounds payload and the truck, it squats down a little in the back, whatever, but it still remains incredibly stable. It doesn't seem stressed out compared to going over the payload on a single rear wheel. So what's going on with this truck is they derate these a little bit, at least based on the axles. And people have even told me that you can get these things re-registered based on what these axles can actually carry and get it kind of re-tagged so that it can actually carry what the axles can carry. The springs on the truck are kind of the weak link. They're made for some level of comfort. It's not the most comfortable riding truck out there, but it's not like driving a cab chassis truck, which has very, very, very heavy duty rear springs. These rear springs are going to be pretty similar, if not the same, to an F350 dually. And honestly, this 450 doesn't ride too much worse, if any. I mean, it kind of rides, being a longer wheelbase, it rides about as good as an F350 single rear wheel with a short bed. So this truck is designed to have the dually look, to be a dually. It is a true dually and everything, but it's not all the way there as an F450. So it's more than badging. It's not like they just jam an F450 badging on the truck and call it a 450. It has the tires, it has the wheels, it has the brakes, it has the axles, but it doesn't have the springs in order to make it a true 450 with the payload. That being said, it is a drivable vehicle for daily driving. It is doable. It is something that can be driven on a regular basis. Where a cab chassis truck, it's only a work truck, period. You know, you really wouldn't want to drive a cab chassis truck. Cab chassis truck typically doesn't even come with a bed, and it's just set up to be upfit with like a dump tray, a dump bed, or whatever other kind of custom bed would be getting installed in a cab chassis truck. So, uh, something to consider for sure. So, what are the benefits though, aside from that, if you're not going to gooseneck tow? The thing about these 450s is on the bumper, you can pull still quite a lot of weight. Our hitch here is rated for 21,000 pounds of towing, and it's on a 3-inch shank. It's not maxing out the truck, this hitch alone. This hitch comes up a little bit shy. I believe this truck can tow like 24,000 on here, maybe more in 2023. So definitely not maxing out our hitch, but for pickup trucks, there ain't nothing that could really tow more on the bumper than one of these trucks. And when you got big dump trailers and stuff like that that you bumper pull, they get heavy fast, and it really does kind of work out good to have a 450. On the F350 that we have, we can only do 1,800 pounds legally of tongue weight. And it's pretty comfortable at that 1,800 pound mark on the tongue. Not bad. But we oftentimes go over that tongue weight with our dump trailer. As you can see here, we've got a bigger dump trailer. It's got a real big A-frame here in the front, and it's just freaking heavy duty. It runs about 500 or 600 pounds of tongue weight just empty. So I mean, you could tow this with the 150, but you just really can't put much in it when you tow it. So it's definitely heavy, but at the end of the day, it is nicer to have, you know, the little bit bigger, heavier trailer. It does kind of work out. It's got heavy tires. It's got commercial tires on it too. It's got 17.5 inch commercial tires, and they're a little bit more money, these tires, if you put a hole in one or something like that. But man, even that little bit, as long as you don't punch a hole in it, because then you got to go to a specific place to get it plugged or to get it repaired. This one has a plug, and they plug these from the inside out. A little bit more money to get them fixed, but they just last longer. I mean, they just don't really wear out like the other lighter duty trailer tires. They put the cheap tires on these trailers, but these tires are inherently pretty good, being the commercial tires. So definitely has been kind of worth it. But with the topic of this trailer, this is another interesting topic. Is we got the most that we can get out of this trailer. This is a 16K trailer. Anything bigger than this, maybe a triaxle 37K axles, I think that's 21,000 pound trailer. That's going to put you in CDL territory no matter what. With the 16K, you can go non-CDL further, a lot longer, before you need a CDL based on the truck. 21K, 3-axle, 7K, 7K axles, you're CDL all the time. Whereas if you have the truck set up just right, a 10,000 pound gross vehicle weight truck that we have here, this F350, we actually derated this truck when we bought it because we wanted a 350 because we're pushing the limits of a 250 pretty hard. We wanted the stability and stuff of a 350, so a little bit more cost in getting a 350 with a tow package and all that. With that, you get a little bit better spring pack in the rear here. You can see compared to a 250, you got a few more leaves, but I'm gonna be honest, not a huge improvement over 250. The real improvement comes in the form of this sway bar that is back here. This truck is equipped with a sway bar. Very nice. I noticed that the stability with, although it squatted pretty good with our loads, I noticed the stability was really pretty good with this truck, and we were pushing the limits. I mean, we were putting 4,000, 5,000 pounds in the truck and sending it. So we were pushing it, and it did okay. I mean, it squatted down and stuff, and it wasn't. I mean, you had to watch your speeds, and you can't hit turns and stuff. It's not as good as the 450 would have handled that, no issues. But you know, the sway bar and stuff did make it a little bit better. But on topic of sway bars, to put it in perspective, this is what the 450 is rocking in the rear. The freaking sway bars on the 450 is massive, and that's why this truck can just handle weight really, really well. So derating the truck, the reason I did that is because I want the truck to be able to tow more weight before needing to be a CDL rig. You can actually do that with this. This is a 350, so you get the towing of a 350, but you can tow more. As soon as the gross combined weight rating is over 26,001, you got to have a CDL. All the regulations, the hiring, it's hard enough to hire, a guy without a CDL. So it can be, very, very expensive and just more regulation. If you could stay under a CDL number, it just works out better overall. So being that we are under that number, we are right at that number. Like we're literally so close to it, but right at the 26,000 pound with this F350 with this trailer, we're right at that limit. So what does that mean? It means that we've cut down our payload a little bit here on the truck. This truck can only haul legally 2,800 pounds. So if this truck wasn't derated, legally it would be able to haul closer to 4,000 pounds being a gas truck. But, derating the truck allows it to tow more. So what's more often? Is it the heavy towing or the heavy hauling? Well, with the heavy hauling, you could always, no one's really weighing these trucks anyway. No one's really checking the payload on these that much. So it's kind of give or take. Somewhere you're going to be in some territories that you don't want to be in. You can get the payload, then you got to get CDL drivers, or you can just derate the truck. And, or I could have derated the trailer, but I do really like the capacities of this trailer. If I would have got a 14K trailer, which that could be a way to do it, get a 14K trailer, and then whenever you hook up to a higher payload F350, you could already have a 14K trailer. At the time, though, I already had this trailer, and I was adding a truck, so I kind of matched the truck to the trailer. That being said, it could have been an option to trade out of the trailer, get a 14K dump trailer, and go ahead and get the higher payload F350 and still be non-CDL. But a 14K dump trailer is still going to be CDL with the 350. But this trailer, guys, I was so happy with it. The payload of it. Honestly, the way that it's built, it's the same kind of thing with the 450. As the 450 gets heavier, it's kind of a derated truck a little bit, the 450 is, being a 14,000 pound trailer. This trailer is just heavier built, and it can just take more. But the payload of it is the same kinda. It's a little bit more than a 14K. But as they beef up the trailer and make it heavier and heavier, the trailer gross vehicle weight rating empty gets a little bit heavier, and you end up with a little bit more payload, like 400 or 500 pounds more payload than the 14K trailer, when this is a 16K trailer. So 2,000 more pounds of payload, and most of that payload gets soaked up by the extra material, metal, thicker frame here. You can literally, if you pull a 14K trailer next to this one, the frame and stuff is literally just thinner. Like, it's not as tall. It's the lighter weight axles, lighter tires. And the thing is too, with the 14K, you could put, any amount of weight in a 14K trailer. You could probably put 20,000 pounds in it, and it wouldn't do nothing to it in a short trip anyway. Whereas this one, same thing. You could go way over the. It's got 11,000 pound payload. You can go over that number, and it wouldn't do anything to the trailer in a short period, like one time thing, or two, once a year, twice a year thing. Wouldn't really wreck the trailer necessarily. It might though, but it might not. So I know tons of guys that just load these up with soil all the way to the rim. You're way over your payload numbers if you load this type of trailer up with soil. And the telescopic boom here and all that, it handles it. It's not happy about it, but it'll dump it. And it will do it. It won't necessarily break it in one hit. Could something potentially be more likely to break, or would you be more likely to have a failure? Most likely, yes, but it can be overloaded. So it's kind of like, do you get the heavier trailer? I've just ended up liking this. I feel like the tires alone, they don't get punctured as easily, and they keep the tread way longer. But now I'll be looking at my tread like, man, I need some new tires. So while they're more expensive, you just have to replace them way less often than the different tires, the other tires that are not commercial grade tires. These ones, they freaking inflate to a very high PSI. And honestly, with them being commercial, the service is better because you got to go to a commercial truck place. And when you go there, they're just used to doing business, all commercial business. There's no BS. They just take care of business. So I ended up liking the heavier trailer, and this is just all they had at the time when I bought it. So kind of is what it is. So all in all, with these trucks, it's all about playing with the payload. I feel like Ford is one of the manufacturers with one of the higher payloads available. I know a lot of people kind of rag on the 450s for not having enough payload, and that is true. They really could use more, but it's all about regulations and stuff. And I don't know exactly what the rules are, but whenever you see a truck that's over that 14,000 pound gross vehicle weight rating, you always see more regulations, different type of, you always see that clean idle sticker on it, and they have that derated engine. So this truck, the 450 pickup truck version, it's his own thing. It's not gonna have the capacity of a cab chassis fully. It's gonna be somewhere in the middle between a 350 and a true 450. And honestly, even an F350 cab chassis truck is gonna be probably more capable overall versus an F450 pickup. That being said, it's still a cool truck. It's more of, for me, it's more of an all-around vehicle. It's not, for me, I'm not going to ever really get a sports car. I'm never going to get a motorcycle or anything. This is kind of my thing, and that's kind of where it fits for me. And at the same time, I can use the vehicle, unlike some of the, Corvettes and stuff like that. You can't really use those for much, and they're still expensive vehicles, although they are cool, and I'm not going to say I wouldn't want one. I know that if I had one, I would be getting into a lot of trouble with it. But with this is something that I can have. It's kind of my thing, my project. At the same time, I can work it, and it's kind of like my little sports car, I guess. It's fast, it's efficient. I can put the whole family in it. We can go on trips, and it can be relatively efficient on trips. Even though it's geared to a 430 gear ratio, you can still get some good MPG with this truck, despite having to watch your vehicle speed a little bit. It'll cruise 80 no problem, but burns a lot of fuel at those higher speeds. But you get it around 65, 66, maybe 67, and it starts to get pretty efficient. You start getting 18, 19 to the gallon. So pretty impressive engine, and that's just what it's getting now. I haven't really changed the oil or anything. It's got 1,000 miles on it. It's still breaking in. It's definitely started to get better MPG as it's breaking in more. But definitely impressive as far as that's concerned. Pretty much overall happy with the truck. And at the same time, the 7.3 has been pretty good as well. It's still a toughie though. Is it better than a 6.2? Some of the stuff they did to this truck this year is certainly better. They really got the fan clutch tuned nicely. I think that's why it's more efficient than a 6.2. Just the fan clutch by itself. So this is a good truck as well. Nothing wrong with it. I dailied it for almost a year. No issues with it. It's not as it's not as cool as a diesel, but it does pretty much everything that an F350 diesel could do. It's just not as efficient. It's not as fast. It's not as fun, but it's a serious truck. And for the people who are conscientious about expenses and all that, then yeah, this truck is better. It makes more sense overall. It's cheaper to purchase, cheaper to maintain, cheaper to own, cheaper to repair. Overall, the savvy choice to make is the 7.3. It will be limited on its range. A diesel can um, have more range and more overall versatility for sure. There is something to be said for the money that you spend for a diesel. There is more value there. But anyway, that's for another video, gas versus diesel, which one to get. But my name is Sean. This is DS Trucks. I got to get out of here. This video's running out of memory. So see you guys in the next one. Over and out.